So, learning how to learn. This course by Coursera was very great. Thank you, Dr. Oakley. Some of the ways that it could be used is through any student, anybody with work going through a work course, anybody going to training, anything like that. So, the very first element of learning how to learn is recall. So recall is creating clusters in the brain, treating them like hyperlinks, and you access them as you click a link. So as you are able to build what Barbara Oakley calls clusters, um, basically what those are is those are a bunch of little neurons in a big, small portion of your brain that have a focus on a certain type of material. So since you have a focus on that type of material, those completely bunch together, and they keep bunching together until you have a full understanding of that material, however difficult it is. If that material is very difficult, then it's going to be harder to grasp. So what you have to do is you need to do things such as exercise. Exercise is very, very crucial to learning because what it does is it activates what's called your diffuse mode of learning. There's two modes of learning. There's diffuse mode and focus mode. So focus mode is when you take a chunk of your energy, direct energy, and then from that direct energy, what you do is you just divide all your undivided attention to that right there, to whatever you have in front of you. Take 25 minutes, and then it's effective to, after that 25 minutes, avert your attention somewhere else because you're just going to get bored. And if you get bored, then you are not going to understand the material, and you're just not going to care to understand the material just because it's not going to be interesting anymore. So a big part of averting your attention would just be to do something else, or to, again, get exercise, which is huge because getting exercise really activates your diffuse mode. Now, your diffuse mode is essentially just when you go into when your brain pretty much untaps its subconscious. So when you go into your subconscious mind, your brain accesses this information without really you even thinking about it. So it creates stronger neural pathways without you doing anything, without any direct focus. That allows you to be able to go on and access this direct information whenever you'd like. So after that, there's Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They constantly take time off to read. And when they take time off to read, it allows them to stay very creative. It allows them to stay very fresh. And then since they stay fresh, they're using the law of serendipity. The law of serendipity basically states that you will get lucky if you continue the repetition and the perseverance. So a very effective technique of learning is the 30-second rule. So what you do is after anything you learn, doesn't matter a chapter, I've been using it with books, is take a chapter of a book, and after you take that chapter of a book, you list off 3 or 5 things that are going to be, that you recall directly from that, without referring back to material, because those are the things that are freshly embedded in your mind. Those are the things that have made a emotional impact on you, and those are the things that are probably going to be able to very easily come up in a conversation or perhaps a test. So you want to do that with everything. Procrastination. Procrastination is, it's basically a feeling of inadequacy and knowing that you can't do something because that specific task is going to cause a lot of stress. And that task, you know that there's things writing on that, so it builds it, no matter if that's a test, if that determines your grade, if it's for a job, if it's something like that. However, that's just going to build a lot of anxiety, and it's a lot easier just to complete those tasks. However, we tend to think that, okay, when we need to get a task done, we're going to get it all done right now, and we're not going to stop until we finish. That's actually very ineffective. It's more effective to use the Pomodoro technique and to take 25 minutes at a time and just knock it out, or just even say, hey, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes, and let's say I'm going to read this book, or I'm going to do my homework, or I'm going to finish this test, but I'm only going to do it for 5 minutes. So we tap into that, and then essentially we usually do it for more than 5 minutes. But the fact is that we're taking a short amount of time to completely get the material down within our head. So planning. Planning is very important too. Planning, what you do is you make a list. You make a list before you go to sleep, and when you make that list, what it does is essentially taps into your diffuse mode, and that list, it takes away a lot of willpower in order to have to think about, oh God, I got to do this, I have to do that. The only thing that you have to do now, since you've made the list, is refer back to the list and look at it. Another very important fact of the list is you have to have a deadline. The deadline is almost just as important as the list, because if I know that I have all these tasks and I have 14 hours to do them, I'm going to dread the next 14 hours. However, if I say I need to be done by 4 p.m. and I wake up at 8, I know that I only have to grind until 4 p.m., then I can do whatever I want, and then it is very satisfying. So some memory tricks you can use are like the memory palace. So you take familiar places in your room, and then or in your house, wherever you want, wherever's a place that's familiar to you, and use metaphor visualizations to allow yourself to better understand the material. And those metaphors, you want to use anything from turning yourself into those metaphors. You want to make them as visual as possible. When you make them more visual, you make them more personable. And as you make them more personable, it's much easier to chunk that type of information. So metaphors, you want to, if anything, so let's say I'm making a metaphor of a physics problem. I want to take that physics problem, maybe take a t in that physics problem and the equals and the whatever the solution is, take the solution and literally make a, let's say I want to make an ocean. And if I'm in an ocean, I want to feel the ocean. I want to feel the waves. I want to feel the temperature of the water. I want to feel what's in and around the water. I want to feel perhaps swimming in the water. I want to hear the water. You want to get all those senses, and you want to literally submerge yourself in that metaphor. And other than that, visual metaphors are very important to gain a better understanding of them. If you change your mood about a test, it'll be very effective. If I am, oh God, I don't want to do this test, blah, 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 then I'm probably going to get a bad grade. But if I go in thinking that I'm going to do very good on this test and I have done my self-sufficient, even if I haven't done my self-sufficient studying, and I just have a very positive attitude about it, I'm probably going to get a better grade. There's a guy named Cahal, and he says that if you change your thoughts, which he was a terrible student growing up, which he changed his thoughts through perseverance, and he says that that law of perseverance is going to inevitably lead to the change of your neural pathways and your neurons and lead to a completely different mindset. And the process is more important than the product, meaning that if you're doing a task, you need to think that the process, so the studying, is what you need to learn to like, and not just get fixated on the product. So if I'm studying for a course and I want to get an A, I'm not just thinking, okay, I'm getting an A on this course and that's it, and that's all, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I need to think that, yes, I need to study. When I study, I need to learn to study. I need to get fixated on the studying. And that process is going to get me to the product, but don't be fixated on the product. That is learning how to learn. That is my summary, and thanks for listening. Bye. Give me a good grade.